Looking to find out what goes into getting a scalp micropigmentation procedure? Look no further, because today we have a special guest all the way from Geelong in Australia, the incredibly talented SMP artist Claudia Leahy. With years of experience under her belt, Claudia will be sharing her insider knowledge and giving you the lowdown on what's involved in achieving that perfect SMP look. But first, before we get started, if you haven't already subscribed to our channel, make sure you do that now so you don't miss out on any of our great content.
Welcome, Claudia. Thank you so much for coming on to the 5-Minute Fast Facts program today to give us some insight into our SMP process here at SMP Australia. Tell us about the process of getting SMP. For many clients, it is a big step to finally do something about their hair loss. Starting with a consultation and design appointment, give us some insight into what's involved.
Yeah, cool. So first of all, when we get a client to come in for a consultation, we try to understand the client and their situation, things like their hair loss progression, any underlying skin conditions, and just gain a perspective of their overall health. Also, it's important to clarify what they're wanting to get out of SMP and what it can do for them. So things like how they will be maintaining their look to go along with the SMP, if they're wanting to match it to a shaved or a long hairstyle, and just overall what their goal is, like what's their ideal SMP result, and how we can get there together. So as we start to discuss what their overall goal is for their SMP result, it's good for clients to bring in photos of examples of different styles that they like, different hairline sort of designs. We can implement different unique things about a hairline design that makes it theirs. So if you are bringing in photos of examples, then we can look at those and then have an idea in mind of something that's going to fit you, and then combine the two together to come up with something that's going to tick all the boxes.
Also, offering simulations can sometimes also be really beneficial to clients who are having trouble visualizing what it is that it might look like. So after a client has had their initial consultation and design appointment, walk us through exactly what happens at a first session of scalp micropigmentation.
Okay, so first session, they come in, we briefly sort of go over how the day is going to be structured and how the session will pan out on that day. So once that's been discussed and they sort of have an understanding of the different things that they'll need to do, like sitting up or trying to stay relatively still, you might have them laying face down or on their side. I always say, make sure you let me know if you need a break or some water. Once they kind of have that understanding, we can get straight into the session. So normally I'll start from the very back of the scalp and sort of work through that crown area there and blend into the back where that hair is a little bit more dense throughout that back. From there, we're just working our way towards the hairline area. So I'll get them laying on their side and we're blending into that area as well, and progressively just working up to that hairline, but still leaving that good healthy space within that area so that we can design through once we get to there. So in a first session, we'll go and select a color that we can begin with that matches the hair tone and the color of the skin. Normally we find that this color will probably need to be adapted as we progress throughout the sessions, but it's good to sort of start at a safe zone where we can either go darker or at the same level if we wish. So once we've picked everything and we're all ready to go, we start to treat the area. That first session acts as a framework for the result. So it's sort of just going in and establishing that base layer of impressions that's sort of a softer, more sparse appearance than how it's going to end up.
And the first session is quite exciting for a lot of clients because they're starting to see, the overall shape take effect. But it's still very sort of underdone at this point, isn't it?
I refer to it sometimes as like if you picture the framework of a house, or the skeleton, I like to say as well, because it is a much more sparse, lighter version of how it'll end up. So it's important the client understands that that's not in any way it finished after that first layer.
I think a lot of concern that clients generally have is that it's going to end up as a very dark and oversaturated result, which it totally is not if done appropriately. At that first session, there's a lot of almost relief and excitement seen by the client as they see that this is definitely on the right track.
And that's why we take things in a way that's so careful as well, because that client gets to sort of ease into the treatment and become more comfortable with the process. And because we have full control over it and where we'd like to take it, they feel very at ease, having started sort of in baby steps at the beginning. So before we begin our session, after the consent forms have been filled out and we've gone over what we're going to be doing for the day, we'll also take some before shots of the client so that we can have those on file, and we can always refer back to those at the end of the process as well. Lots of clients have different things they like to do throughout the session. Some like to have their headphones in and listen to some music. Others just like to sit back and have a chat. Ultimately, we'll just accommodate to what's going to make you most comfortable throughout your session, because it can run for up to 3 hours as well. So you just need to be nice and comfy and able to sort of work through it. Yeah, so at the end of the session, we'll go over the aftercare together, explain what you need to be doing to look after the result as best you can. Aftercare is provided to you. It's just so we can send you home with everything you need to know in order to best care for that result.
So tell us, Claudia, why do we need to do multiple sessions and review appointments?
Yeah, so the reason for multiple sessions is for a couple of different factors. So first of all, you want to make sure you're properly healing each of the layers. And to do that, you need to go in with the impressions and make sure there's an appropriate amount of space in between each of the dots. So by sending the client away to heal over that 1 week period means each of those tiny impressions have that space to heal in between. So then we can go in with more and sort of tighten up that density, and each of those dots stays nice and crisp and precise. By staging the sessions the way that we do over a few weeks, we always have that full control over which way we can take the result, whether it be changing the hairline if we need to, or perhaps adapting the color to be a little bit darker, or just different things that might mean refining it a little bit more so to cater to that client.
Well, thank you so much for explaining more about the SMP process to our viewers today. We appreciate your expert advice, Claudia.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
We hope that Claudia's insight and expertise has given you a better understanding as to what's involved in achieving a natural looking, long lasting SMP result. If you have any comments or questions, please leave them down below and we'll be sure to get back to you. And if you're interested in learning more about Claudia and her work, be sure to check her out on our website, which is in the description below. Make sure you stick around and watch this next video that YouTube thinks that you should watch next.